Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Stickers and Scuffs podcast. It's been a little while. K, Graydon Bunn with some different surroundings behind us now, maybe a little bit of a different look than when you saw us last. We're a little bit more refreshed after what was a very kind of difficult start to November for both of us, mentally, just physically, just fried. But now we're a little bit regenerated and feeling a lot better, Graydon, and things have happened for both of us on the positive. And, it's you've got a brand new kind of facility behind you now, and it's looking really sexy. And we'll get a good look of that in the coming weeks of the podcast when everything gets fully put together. But really excited for you, buddy. And I've been working on eating healthier, and man, it's been awful. So, you know, as anybody that knows, when you make the switch from having the delicious junk food to having to eat like lettuce, I mean, there's nothing sexy and like fun about lettuce and salads and stuff. But it's obviously you want to get our energy really high and be able to walk a lot in the summertime for when the NASCAR Penny Series returns, and not just the Penny Series, but just racing in Ontario. Man, it's only been a couple weeks, Graydon, but it feels like ages, and I feel like I've lost somebody because. Yes, I never felt this before because we didn't go to that many races as a kid and as a teenager, but because we went to so many this past year, I feel like I need it to be happy. Don't you?
Yes. I couldn't agree more. When we're in all our glory in the summertime there, the 4-day work weeks were coming hand over fist. I'm at a loss for words right now, even talking about it. I mean, those were the glory days of summer in every sense of the word. I mean, by regular season standards, we had access beyond what most fans get, and we're like eternally grateful for that. And it's a season that we're so happy that we could share with all our true Canadian racing fan family that we can hopefully build on in 2022. But man, what a hell of a 2021. And like you said, when it all comes to a grinding halt, that's like quitting like 3 packs a day or something cold turkey.
It really kind of is, because people might not think of sports as an addiction, but it really is.
Yeah.
What makes us happy. You're allowed to swear on this podcast. Yeah. Don't worry.
It is.
Watch your fucking language, man. Come on. But we it's one of the things that we miss. And unfortunately, we're running this episode, and it's a special episode because we have lost one of our own. In that terms of one of the things that made us really happy, which is the facility known as Jukasa, formerly K Raceway, a track that I may not have been able to go to as many times as others, but its closure symbolizes another glaring issue within racing in Canada. Racing in general is that land is worth so much money, and racetracks in Canada don't make a lot of money. You don't have racing from February in Canada to November. It doesn't happen.
And you sure as hell don't have government funding.
None. No respect at all. No support during this closure for the pandemic. That racetracks got nothing. And it's incredibly frustrating when you think you have a top-notch facility that Kenny Hill and the people at Jukasa put so much time and effort into remaking and renovating, building it right back up in 2017. We knew kind of that his passing may have kind of contributed to this, and it's part of it's unfortunately part of the deal when you have a vision and then that visionary is lost. It's a lot harder to carry on if the passion that was there before is all of a sudden gone. I'm not saying that people there didn't have the passion to continue, but there was one that was spearheading it and really wanted it to succeed. And I think we all would have wanted it to become, maybe Kenny Hill Speedway or something along the lines of Kenny Hill Memorial Speedway or something along the lines of supporting him and his family through their difficult time. But we know that land is valuable and industries within that area, that property is extremely, extremely, extremely valuable to them. I don't want to go out on a big rant here about the company because unfortunately, this is what happens. Companies buy land. Companies want land. They have millions and millions and millions of dollars. That's the truth. You deal with land all the time, Graydon, and you live in an area that maybe wasn't so developed years ago. And you probably see this way more than somebody like myself who, I go down, I just look out and I see houses for miles. Maybe that's not the case for you, but you can probably add a little bit more to this conversation as to how important that land value is in just an area like.
Like it's, as you say, it's sort of apples to oranges in terms of physical geography, but the principles are the same where land is just worth so much. And I am very fortunate to work and kind of cater to a market that is very flexible with their income, shall we say. But the thing is land is so coveted, and we're developing land in Muskoka where even 20 years ago was deemed unbuildable just because of the physical geography of the place. It's a steep grade. Now, if you have the money to grease the wheels of developing that land, you can blow a hunk of rock out and clear a road through, and land is worth everything. To beauty's in the eye of the beholder, as the cliche says, and it's not wrong. When someone buys a property, regardless of the beautiful places, I've personally smashed down houses more beautiful than my own to make way for someone else's vision on a property. We've smashed houses and put them into bins and dump trucks and carried them away to make way for someone else's vision. And what's there is irrelevant because the land is so coveted. And that's the case, unfortunately, with Jukasa, because the reality is it's going to meet that fate. And it to me personally set the bar of, if the most arguably beautiful and state-of-the-art oval racing facility in Ontario, certainly, if not Canada, isn't safe from this, then what track is safe for most sport? Probably because of federal designation from decades ago. But we'll get into this a little bit more. But it definitely sends a shockwave through the entire industry when someplace like that closes, and we all can't say that it doesn't. But all we can do now, and when I say we're the fans, but all the industry as a whole can do is make sure it doesn't happen to anything else.
It's absolutely true. One of the things that we've discussed, and one of the reasons why we are here, why we're doing this podcast, why we started it from the beginning, is because there's not enough love for racing in Canada. I understand that we have a great fan base. We really do. Where I'm not saying that there's not love. I'm not saying it's not from the fans. It's not from the fans. The fans love racing in Canada. It's not from the corporations. The corporations in Canada don't support racing. They support hockey, they support basketball, they support
government.
A lot of government. Yeah, a lot of already really expensive, already fully funded programs, but because it's more attractive to a wider audience, that's where they go for. We don't have enough companies that are coming to take a chance that are of a corporate nature that can help racetracks, race teams, and the series as a whole. We have some dedicated partners. amazing partners. Pinty's, Quick Wick, Canadian Tire coming back on board. We have ones that they don't even publicize that have been sponsoring in this series for years. The Castrol Edges that have been there forever. These are companies that show love with a check. Major billion-dollar corporations in Canada, multi-million-dollar corporations show no love. None. And where people can look is NASCAR down south, because it's exactly the same problem. Do you know what Eric Jones's new sponsor is in the 43 for next year?
Focus Factor.
Focus Factor. Has anyone heard of what that is? No.
It's
Sketch on a Stick. That's what that is.
Yeah, it's created buzzworthy news only because people are fearful that it's a Nature's Bakery all over again.
Nature's Bakery. What's the one from Kyle Larson or from Ross Chastain? DC Solar.
Yeah, DC Solar. That's
don't need that. Tabasco Fiasco. We don't need any of those. We need companies that have the revenue, that have a brand. Canada is we have so many amazing brands, so many amazing companies here that would be perfect on pillars, on billboards, sponsoring segments, being a contingency sponsor. And I think that's the biggest thing. We're a small podcast. We don't have a lot of money, but we've contributed to race teams because that's sometimes all they need is $100 because it helps. And you can get your logo on a car. The experience that we had from seeing our logo on a car is thrilling. Even virtually, it's thrilling. Watching Stephen Ellis and Matthew Hall, Jason Metcalf, Brendan Madonia running our logos in these series, racing against real like top drivers. It's a huge thrill. Seeing it in the Pinty series last year. Companies have no idea the value here. And they could have had major corporations. If we had major corporation help come in and be like, no, we're going to save the Speedway. Why is North Wilkesboro still alive? They haven't had a race since when? And they're getting all of that money to rebuild and reinvest. Yes, I know. It's way more of a hub for racing. But what you just
take the inflation, like
you said
printing
Jukasa
money
already.
stuff.
What did you say about it? It was state-of-the-art facility. Matt Weaver, Cassie Fambro, what was their favorite facility that they'd ever been to? They said Jukasa. Matt Weaver goes to every friggin' short track across America, and he said Jukasa.
That's a damn testimonial right there.
And I understand that board of directors make decisions. It really wasn't in the fans' hands. It comes down to many decisions.
Hands, yeah.
But I am not mad at the fact that we're losing Jukasa. I am sad that we're losing it, but I'm fearful that the Sunsets, not Delaware anymore, the Flamboroughs, the Peterboroughs are all in that danger zone because they're all within communities that are expanding. And as we've seen with St. Eustache, as we've seen with Barrie, one complaint about noise and it's death for racetracks in Ontario. It's death. The government has no love for racetracks that create noise. None.
Yeah.
I'm getting heated.
Yeah, I love it. What a way to come roaring. But I mean, it's so bittersweet. But you're right. It's such a slippery slope when you, like I said, when you see the gold standard fall, it's gotta send an uneasy feeling, except for, I will say, at the same time as we're talking about this, I listened to our buddies Mark McSporn and Nags over on the Driver Indy podcast.
Amazing.
Which
subscribe to them,
Nags,
guys. Subscribe to them. Amazing show. They had their ad episode with Billy Burns on their show. Can't wait to listen to that one. That's going to be fun.
I haven't checked that one out, but I will say, yeah, listen to a lot of their ones lately. Shay Gamel's great, but getting back to, they recently talked about, it was their Jukasa episode with Luke Ramsey on there, part of the Delaware group. They absolutely have a vested interest in short track racing in Ontario, if not Canada. And Luke and the Delaware group and I think everyone, when you talk about Sauble Speedway, you talk about Sunset, everyone that's left, let's just say that, they're going to try and collaborate and cooperate, get on the same page, pull the rope in the same direction, because we don't want to lose any more tracks, and they sure as hell don't either. So we can take comfort in that, because when, I mean, a lot of us kind of didn't know, but had a feeling in the pit of our gut that there wasn't good news coming from the Jukasa group. And when we did get the news, it was definitely a gut punch.
Yeah, it definitely was.
But when we're like, it does kind of, it's a downer for sure. But I want to talk about a few things that were memories that we'll never ever forget from that place. Linda Jones, who's a longtime PR and a part-time PR for 22 Racing, and Cascar driver Al Turner's sister, for little known fact. Linda came and sat with us for, I don't know how long it was, 2019, when Jessica and the boys and I camped there, and she reminisced about like the old school Cayuga days and racing there with Cascar, and when she was doing the stuff for her brother, the 76
Blue Streak Intrepid.
Yes, absolutely. So it's things like that where it's a generational connection, where we had Jukasa from essentially 2017 to 2019 as fans in the stands, and then 2020 on the spectator basis, if you caught it through NASCAR on TSN and Joel's production. So I mean, it was short and sweet in the grand scheme of things, but I mean, it brought back people from, like, my dad and my uncle went there when they were kids, and I bought them tickets and brought them with us to, I think, one of the 2018 races, I believe it was, and Scott and the 22 Racing group gave us like the whole big treatment, and my uncle was such a big fan of it. I mean, so the point of it being is, I mean, the washroom buildings, the concert venue, that track, that facility, that property had it all. And it brought generations together, for that, back together, if you will, for a short time, where those people that were in their 50s or 60s brought their kids that are now in their 20s, 30s, early 40s, whatever you want to call it. But it was a great time, and we'll never forget it.
And it's, we've kind of mentioned it before, just beginning to kind of my memories of it. And I really hope that the property is, some of the stuff is given to some of the racetracks, lighting, barriers, seating, whatever they can do to reuse.
It's like an organ donor, right? You want to see it live on through other places, right?
Hopefully, because I think Flamborough definitely, I'm sure that they would love some new stuff. Sunset would love it. Sauble, like, help, and hopefully they'll be able to do that. Hopefully the people that are taking over the property, if it is actually sold, we obviously, there's not really confirmation with what's exactly going on. All we know is that it's just not reopening. The belief, though, is that the property is sold. But obviously we're not into that kind of in that news. But for me, if without Jukasa, this podcast does not happen. And plain and simple, I hadn't seen a NASCAR Pinty's race since the Mosport Oval closed in 2013. And it was a long time back. And the first race, I'd been to the Pinty Series free Fridays at Toronto because it was free, and I could get to it kind of easily. And then my dad and I went to Jukasa for the very first time, and it rained, poured, and we had to come back the next day. Shoot a NASCAR. We had to come back the next day. And I didn't know a single driver, didn't talk to anybody, didn't really know anybody, but got to, see some people. But Todd Lewis, I chatted with Todd Lewis, and it was at Jukasa that he had told me to just, if you want to do it, do it. People will support you. And he talked about, as he talked about on our show, people will give you a chance. He wasn't in this job. He wasn't trying to get into racing, but people saw him and liked him, gave him an opportunity. And we saw one hell of a race between Lacroix and Andrew Ranger. Andrew was able to win. Julia Landauer, our girl, I finally got to see her race. Got to see the hot rods for the first time, the Oscar hot rods and the modifieds. Got to see our boy Wally Wilson putter around there for a little bit. And it was extremely windy. I got really bad windburn all over my face, but would I have changed it? Absolutely not. And it was after that race. It was after that 2019 race that my passion for this series reignited. And look at us now. Like there's no racing that we don't like support, but when it comes to Pinty's and our Canadian series, bar none, it is our most.
I'll bleed for the series, man.
Well, I think you literally have bled for this.
I think I have. Yeah,
I think you have bled for this.
I shanked myself in the campground setting up.
Yeah,
tarps and everything.
Yeah, so. And we're just lucky I haven't hurt myself yet. So, and the key word is yet, because I'm sure it'll happen. But we just wanted a couple of minutes to chat about Jukasa Motor Speedway and really thank the Hill family, thank Alex Nagy as general manager, thank anybody that was part of Jukasa and making it what it was, being the people that operated it. If you sold programs, if you picked up trash, if you sold merchandise, if you sold the food, if you were the gate, person, if you were the
I probably saw like Mark and his wife at the booth when I was going into the campground. I didn't know who they were back then.
Exactly. You guys made that facility, and it was not it's not a forgotten racetrack. It's not an abandoned racetrack. It's a beloved racetrack, and it will always be that way. I understand they call it something lost speedways. To me, that's such a harsh feeling, So we're going to wrap this one up, and we want to thank you guys for tuning in to the Stickers and Scuffs podcast with K, Graydon Bunn. Make sure you subscribe on our channels and definitely come back and we'll be talking about racing more and more. So
we're glad to be back. I mean, definitely not necessarily under these circumstances, but I mean, it's been great to reflect. And I mean, as you said, it's Jukasa is not necessarily in the system anymore and part of it, but we'll never forget it. And we're thankful from the memories that it made in the short time that we got to experience it again, because it got to, for me especially, I got to feel kind of like what my dad and my uncle felt when like they were kids and everything too. I mean, that generational connection from a place that was separated, it was closed for so many decades and opened again just long enough for us to get that bond where we all got to be together. Man, I'm starting, like, Nags almost got me in his podcast. I'm almost getting myself talking about it because I'm thinking about Nags talking about it too. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We'll wrap this up. It was good times, Jukasa, and thanks for it.
R.I.P. Jukasa. We love you. 1966 to 2021. It's been a blast.